we got our first look at Modern Warfare 2, and I'm kind of disappointed. Like, we've had lots of information released about it from the trailer, and the COD partners all got to go to like a special event where they found out loads more about it, and they've told us about it in their videos. There was a blog post, there's the pre-order bonuses go live. We've got loads of information, and it's not all great. So in this video, I'm going to break down some of the things I am really happy about, and then some of the things I'm not happy about towards the end of the video. So make sure you watch all the way to the end, and then let me know in the comments what you thought of the reveal so far. So let's start with the positives. The big one is that Warzone 2 is coming out this year. They've said it's not coming out at launch, but it's coming before the end of the year. I'm kind of thinking that means we'll probably see it like around when Caldera launched, so maybe the beginning of December. And that's super exciting. Another really cool thing is that Gunfight has been confirmed to be coming back. Charlie Intel posted about this on Twitter, that again, Infinity Ward have said this isn't coming at launch. They want to focus on some of the other modes, but Gunfight is coming back at some point. And I'm really happy about that, because Vanguard's Champions Hill was okay, but it kind of meant the games always went on a long time because you had to play against, what was it, like 8 other teams. With Gunfight, you can sometimes just do those quick matches, those quick little matchups. I really enjoy that mode, and I'm super happy that that's going to come back at some point. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something that came back in, like, you know, season 2 or 3 or something like that. Then my third thing that I'm really happy about, this was mostly from Jack Fragg's video. He talks in detail about how the vehicle physics have been improved, and there's a couple of things involved in that. One thing I've wanted from Warzone, especially for a long while, is the ability to shoot out things like tires on vehicles. So say, imagine you're escaping in a cargo truck, and then someone shoots out some of the tires on one side, and then you're like struggling to control it as you try and escape. That's exciting to me. Or if you're driving an SUV and someone blows the doors off it, and now your passengers are exposed on that side. That sounds super fun, and all of that's going to be possible in multiplayer and in Warzone 2. They've said that vehicles are going to be a much bigger part of the new game. So in multiplayer, there's going to be like big battle modes. I think it's kind of like ground war. So there's going to be loads of different vehicles, and they're going to have this kind of system where getting damaged in different areas will make it handle differently or make it act differently. And I think that's super cool. Another thing they've talked about, Jack gives the example of with this new like animation type thing, this new, I don't know, mechanism you call it, where you can climb up onto things. And when you're climbing on a ledge, you can kind of peek over and shoot things. You can actually do that on helicopters. So they gave the example of you being able to jump onto an enemy helicopter, catch the skids, lean up and shoot the pilot out, and then capture the helicopter and fly off. That sounds really cool in itself, you know, and the idea of hijacking something is fun. But the most exciting part of that to me is that it means when you touch an enemy vehicle, you won't immediately die. At the moment, the way it works in the Modern Warfare 2019 engine and in Warzone is that if an enemy vehicle is moving at all and you touch any part of it, even if you touch the side of it, you're dead immediately. It doesn't matter how fast it's going or anything like that. It just has like a kill box around it, and it will kill you. This sounds like you're going to be able to clamber onto enemy vehicles, you know, as long as you're not getting hit by the front or going into the helicopter's blades or something, and you're going to be able to interact with them in new ways. And I think that could be super fun. Like, imagine hiding on top of a cargo truck when an enemy's like driving around or something like that. That sounds like it could lead to some really funny moments, and I'm really happy that they've decided to improve the vehicle physics. Let's hope they've changed some other things, so maybe like you'll be able to roll vehicles and things like that a little bit easier. That could be fun, just to make it a bit more dramatic in a big firefight. Another thing that sounds good to me is the AI in multiplayer and Warzone. So it sounds like AI is going to be a really big part of this, and I don't mean like bots as in other players, but more just like AI soldiers. They've said they're not cannon fodder apparently, so it's not going to be like Titanfall where they just sort of stand there waiting to get shot. But instead they're going to be doing stuff on the map, so maybe guarding locations and things like that. Now in Jagfrag's video, he said they talked about the idea that in Warzone 2 at the moment, they're testing it with 100 players and 300 AI. So that sounds like there's going to be some really significant sort of influence of the AI on matches, and that sounds like it could be really cool. Me thinking about Easter eggs and stuff like that, they could do some really interesting things where there could almost be like a raid type area where there's like a really difficult bunker to try and fight your way through to get a prize, where you're up against really tough AI. That could be really cool. Or for events and things like that, they could do really interesting things. Bear in mind, we have had AI in Warzone before, but it's normally been limited to very few enemies. So In the hatches on Caldera, there's sometimes 2 enemies in them, or there used to be, but they've taken them out. In Factory, there used to be some AI on the guard towers, but I think there was like 6 in total. And again, they've taken those out. When we had the zombie invasion of Verdansk, I think there was only ever like 20 or 30 zombies at a time on the entire map. So this sounds like it's completely different. There's something much more substantial going on, having 300 AI. So that sounds like it could really, really change up Warzone, and I'm really excited about that. Another thing that sounds really good, and this has actually come from the pre-order bonus image, it talks about getting a weapon vault, and this looks like getting a blueprint for a gun, but instead of just getting that one gun with that one set of attachments and then you put your own attachments on and ruin the look of it, you actually get every attachment in that style. This sounds like an insane amount of work for the artists there, but it's so cool, the idea that you can buy sort of basically a new style for a gun, and then you put whatever attachments you want on and it'll still have that style, it'll still look like the thing that you wanted to buy. No idea how that'll work if they still do the crazy guns that look like dragons and Godzilla and things like that, but I think it's a real step up from the blueprint system. Like, I've had things like that cool Krieg that's like the ice dragon, and it just looks terrible as soon as you swap any part of it out, and I'd really like it if that didn't happen anymore. So that seems like a really positive thing. Another cool thing about the weapon system, and this comes from one of J-God's videos, is he talks about the idea that you will sort of unlock weapons in a sort of branching thing where you basically get the base idea of a gun, so rifles of a certain type, and then when you move through it, like you do well in that gun or something like that, you use that gun a lot, then you'll unlock other guns that are like that. Now that, you know, sounds fine, that just sounds kind of normal, but one of the more interesting things about it is the idea that once you unlock attachments for one of those guns, they'll actually unlock for the whole family of those guns. So say you get something like the Grau, and then you get a scope that you really, really like for it because you've leveled it up, you've done challenges for the Grau or something like that, and then you go on to unlock something else, like you unlock the AMAX or you unlock the ACR or something like that. If that's in the same family as that gun, you'll already have the scope equipped for it. Now that sounds really cool, especially for when new guns get released. So when a new gun comes out, if it's attached to a previous family, you'll be able to get it at level 1 and already have a load of attachments for it that work really well. So you won't have that awkward thing, especially in Warzone, of having a weapon in your loadout that doesn't have any attachments, because that kind of sucks. And it's kind of annoying having to go into multiplayer to try and level it up a bit before you can use it in Warzone. It sounds like that won't happen at least as much. So that's really cool too. Another thing that sounds really cool is the prisoner mode. Jack Frags talks about this in his video. It sounds a lot like Rainbow Six, where like one team will have a prisoner to sort of guard and the other team have to try and kill that team and then escort the prisoner, sort of capture the prisoner and escort them out, or maybe free them. I don't know which way around it's going, but that sounds kind of interesting, like an objective mode where you're not just shooting everything, you've got to be careful about what you shoot. Maybe you want to be a bit more tactical. That sounds cool, and it sounds like there's a few modes where you just get 1 life in them. It actually sounds like there's loads of attachments or like new bits of equipment and stuff like that, new things like rappelling off rooftops and stuff that sound a lot like Rainbow Six Siege. So it'll be really interesting to see something a bit new coming to Call of Duty multiplayer. And then my final big positive from this is that Warzone 1 is continuing and Warzone 2 is having a fresh start. Since the idea of Warzone 2 has been floated, I've been saying that I really, really hope they don't carry over your stats, your blueprints, your operators, all of that stuff into Warzone 2, because otherwise you're going to have that problem of Warzone 2 will be really, really bloated with tons of skins and things like that. The graphical style will have to be super similar to make sure that all of that stuff crosses over, to make sure it has all of the animations. It will have to have all of the guns, which brings all of that balance problem of having, like, you know, however many dozens of guns you have in Warzone right now, as well as the new stuff. I just thought it was going to get really, really bloated. So they've done exactly what I hoped would happen, where Warzone 1 is going to continue. You can still play Warzone 1, you can still use all of the stuff you've bought in Warzone 1. If you want to carry on playing it, you can. Just like you can still play Blackout if you want to, and you still have all the stuff that you have for Blackout. But Warzone 2 is going to be a fresh start, so it's going to be fresh stats, new operators, new weapons, all of that stuff. It's really just starting from the beginning again. Now let's start talking about some of the negatives, so some of the things that don't sound so great about this game. The first big thing is the sliders on attachments. A few different people have talked about these. That on some attachments, like, you know, barrel length or something like that, you'll actually have a slider that you can move left and right, so maybe one of them will give you better damage range and another one will give you faster ADS speed or something like that, and you can choose exactly where to move that slider. To me, that's really annoying because that means that building your weapons are going to get even more complicated, and it means there's going to be even more balance issues of people finding weird settings and things that just break the game, and then you're going to get even more need to go and follow a guide. The second negative is that the graphics didn't look great. Like, watching that trailer, the first thing that struck me was I'd just gone from playing the entire Modern Warfare 2019 campaign straight into watching this trailer, and I was kind of like, oh, this looks exactly the same. In a couple of scenes it kind of looked a bit worse. Now, this might just be the YouTube compression because we're watching a 1080p stream of the trailer. It might be that, and when they finally release like a 4K version of the trailer, maybe it will look amazing. But for now, it just looks pretty much the same as Modern Warfare 2019, and that's a 3-year-old game, and that kind of sucks to me. A third point is that the trailer itself was just super limited. Like, we just got a little look at campaign, a few snippets from campaign. We didn't get any look at multiplayer or Spec Ops or Warzone 2 or anything like that. And that's kind of irritating that we haven't got a look at any of that other stuff, especially because they've been hyping up the fact that at the Summer Games Fest tomorrow, Jeff Keighley's event, they're going to show off a campaign level. Now I'm kind of not excited for that because it's like, well, I've seen the campaign, I know what it's going to be like. It's going to be a Call of Duty campaign. The campaign in itself, what we saw of it based on our trailer, didn't look any different to any of the other Call of Duty campaigns. Like, I enjoy the campaigns, like they're fun, I play through them when I get the game, but like today I played through that Modern Warfare 2019 campaign. It took me about 4 hours to complete the entire thing, and that was with me occasionally messing with stuff on my stream. I was talking to chat, I was dying loads because I wasn't really paying attention, so I was taking it very, very relaxed. I watched every cutscene, I didn't skip anything, and it still only took me 4 hours to complete it. So I'm not like that excited about a new campaign. It's like a little distraction for an afternoon when the game comes out. I kind of wish when they'd announced this, they'd said, this is the campaign reveal trailer. If they'd said, like, this date, June 8th, is going to be the campaign reveal trailer, that would have set my expectations in check. But instead, yeah, I just kind of ended up being a bit disappointed by that. And then my last point is that this game is cross-gen, and I get this will be a really good thing for a lot of people. There'll be lots of people who are still playing on a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and are super excited that they can play the new game, they can play Modern Warfare 2, and they can play Warzone 2, and they don't need to get an expensive new console. I understand fully that that's really good for them. But as someone that has the next gen consoles, or the current gen consoles I guess they are, and a decent PC, I'm kind of annoyed that we're going to be getting another game that has to be sort of hamstrung by the previous gen consoles. Like, it can't do anything that those consoles can't. I was really hoping they were going to have Warzone 1 staying on last gen consoles and sort of carrying on so people could still play it, and then Warzone 2 was going to be for the current gen consoles and moving on. Because bear in mind, like, we haven't even got a Call of Duty game coming out next year at all. Now Warzone's coming out this year. That means we don't have anything for Call of Duty coming out next year by the sounds of it, other than updates to this. And then we'll have a Treyarch game, so we'll have the next Black Ops game the year after that. We could end up with this version of Warzone for like, what, 3 years, 4 years, maybe even longer, and it's still going to be sort of held back by the last gen consoles, and that's kind of disappointing. I was hoping we were going to get something new. So that's my thoughts on it so far. I haven't talked about some of the other things they've talked about. I haven't really talked about like the storyline or anything, or much about the water. All of that stuff didn't seem that exciting to me, but let me know in the comments if you think I've missed something big, if you think I've missed something that I'd be excited about especially, and let me know what you thought of this trailer and all of the information that's come out today. I'd be really interested to hear people's thoughts. I'm going to spend a bit of time in the comment section replying to people and stuff, so please do let me know what you think. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.